Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I want to talk to you guys about the importance of purpose and how to create a life purpose, create a plan, create goals, so that you can fight against life's the mundaneness of life and the meaninglessness of life, right? So spiritual gurus and saints and yogis and sages, once they get to a certain point of spirituality, they realize, and they all kind of come to the same conclusion, that life is meaningless, right? Like you do things, and then it's like, for what purpose, right? Because if everything is one, if everything is the same, if we're all the same, right, and we all die after this experience, right, what is the point of it, right? Like, I know Osho one time said that he doesn't care to be remembered, right? Because you might be remembered for a couple hundred years, right, if you do something extraordinary by some people's standard, right? But at the end of the day, right, your legacy that people say they want to create, eventually it fades away, right? Like, let's be honest, right? A lot of the people that we look up to, whether they be people that, like, I'm talking about people who have passed away, right? A lot of them, right, like, we don't go that far back, right? Even the past 2,000 years, that's a fraction of the eternity of time span that existence has been going on for, right? So, we think of Jesus, we think of Aristotle, we think of Buddha, we think of the great poets, the great scientists, the great athletes, the great musicians, artists, right? The great war generals, right? Great fighters, great warriors. We think of all these people, right? Great philosophers. And we think to ourselves, I want to be like that, right? I want to be remembered. I want to have meaning in my life. I want to be somebody who's well known. I want to leave an impact, right? And that's great, right? I salute you. But here's the real thing, right? It's not so much about the impact, right? It's not so much about leaving a legacy, because that's self-centered, right? And it's okay to be self-centered, right? We all have some degree of self-centeredness, right? I'm not saying you should just be a selfless yogi that doesn't feel any need to do anything, right? And you just want to sit in a cave all day and meditate and, achieve some sort of spiritual realization. But here's what I'm really trying to say. The meaninglessness that is life, because life really is meaningless. If you really think about it, right? I'm not trying to get you guys depressed or get you guys to feel like everything you do is not worth doing. But what I'm trying to say is that your ability to do things is what's going to give your ego what it needs, right? Because no matter what, like, think of all the great spiritual people, right, that talk about all these things, and they're against success, they're against they're not against money, but they're against, like, materialistic pursuits and desire and want. Guess what? They still wrote books. They still did things with people. Some of them still had affairs. They still had families. They still had girlfriends, right? So to sit here and say that life shouldn't be pursued materialistically is kind of it's not healthy, right? Like, I was on vacation last week, right, and I spent a lot of time off my phone, right? And I didn't really make videos. I didn't see a lot of people, right? So I really got to sit down and kind of just contemplate life a little bit. I did some fasting, and what I came to realize, just thinking, like, damn, like, because when you're alone, when you're with your own thoughts and you're immersed in the hollowness of life, when there's no people around you, when there's no social media, when there's no when you're not making money, when you're not at work, when you're not distracted, when you're really just sitting in the hollowness of existence, the fullness of existence, you start to realize that your ego is very dependent on your career, your finances, your fitness, your skill set, your pursuit, right, of excellence, of achieving greatness, your relationships with other men, with women, right? It's so dependent on succeeding in those areas, because think about it. If you don't have if you don't have like a good career, or if you have if you struggle with women, or you're alone all the time, your ego's not really going to like that, right? Because it's like the ego needs some form of materialistic pursuit, right? Whether it's starting a family, whether it's getting involved in a martial art, whether it's being a pastor, whether it's being a businessman, something, right? Something materialistic, or even, just eating food. Like the ego, your mind needs something materialistic, right? Because it feeds off of what is real, what you can see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, right? So if you can't see money, right? If you can't touch somebody, if you can't taste food, if you can't hear anything in silence, right? You're taking away all the ego's things that it needs to feel a sense of aliveness and a sense of sanity, right? So that's why people, who are alone for a long time, they go insane, because it's like their ego is so like beat down and weighed down to the point where it's like, what is life, right? And that can scare a lot of people, because how many people actually sit here, right? Sit and spend time in silence. I would argue there's a very small minority of people that actually can go a full day with no cell phone, with no food, with no sound, with no people, right? And just sit there, right? And it's like, why would you want to do that, right? And I get it, right? Because it's painful. But here's the thing, right? One of the things I noticed is that you can't live like that all the time, right? I did that on vacation because I wanted to, do some dopamine fasting, and I kind of just wanted to challenge myself and really just bring myself back to my roots, back to reality, because oftentimes I find myself getting caught up in social media usage. I get caught up in work drama. I get caught up in, just going from one thing to the next, going to work, then going to the gym, then creating these videos, then reading a book or watching a podcast, right? Hanging out with my girlfriend, watching a sports game, going out to eat, right? Cooking, going to the grocery store. We get so caught up in the survival chores, right? And the things that we enjoy materialistically, that we forget what life actually is, and it's really hollow. But here's the thing. Your pursuit, you need to pursue a career, right? You need to pursue money. You need to pursue relationships. You need other human beings in your life. These people who tell you that you can get away with being alone all the time is crazy, right? I mean, I know I mentioned that in one of my other videos. You can do it for a set period of time. It's definitely doable, right? Humans are very adaptable creatures. But the extreme nature of being alone is not good, right? The extreme one-sidedness of spirituality is not good, right? It creates dysfunction, right? Because we're human beings. We're not just spirit. We are spirit, right? But we're also biological, physical creatures that have needs, right? I talk a lot about Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of needs. You can't just sit there and think that spirituality is going to cure all your issues, right? Now it can help, right? Like if you've been stressed out, right, you can sit there and meditate for a little bit. That'll help you, right? But or if you've been overeating and you get bloated, or you put on some weight, right, fasting will help you, right? But here's the thing, the extreme one-sidedness of that is dysfunctional, right? You need to somehow figure out, right, how you're going to create a purpose and meaning in your life, right? And you have to have goals, and it doesn't matter what your goals are, right? People say that, you need specific types of goals, right? Everyone's different with goals, right? You could want to make a certain amount of money this year, right? Or you could want to set a goal to create a family next year, or do whatever, right? But at the end of the day, you have to have something to pursue, right? Because here's the thing. I know in Brian Tracy's book, Maximum Achievement, which I highly recommend you guys pick up if you haven't, he says that what can help humans become more happy, right? What helps humans become more happy is thinking about the future, right? And, I hear a lot of people say that, just be present, life isn't to be lived in the future, right? And I agree. But there's also a sense of, even though it's not real, there's still a sense of hope, and there's a sense that things will get better. Even if they may not get better, it's that sense that you feel when you imagine, you know, you achieving a goal or you achieving some result that gets you to get up and take action, right? And pursue and move towards your goals every single day, right? And like I mentioned before, happiness, a lot of times happiness comes from the doing, right? So, you know, we talk a lot about results and making money, right? And, you know, we're so focused on the future. But like I said, the doing brings you back to the present, right? The doing gives you the joy that you get every day when you are seeing the tangible results from your efforts via the gym, via dieting, via content creation, via making sales calls, via working on your business, right? All the different things that come with that, via you know, spending time nurturing your relationship, nurturing your intimacy, nurturing your goals for your relationship, right? All of that comes down in a grounded way to give you the happiness and the joy in the moment, right? So, you know, materialistic things, you know, people say they don't give you joy, they don't give you happiness. I would argue that's correct, but I would say that the doing, the everyday doing of it is what's going to give you that purpose, right? Because without purpose, without meaning or some form of meaning in your mind, right? Because meaning is also subjective, right? One person, something means something totally different to another person, right? Something could mean the world to someone, and then that same thing could mean nothing to someone else. So meaning is created by each one of us in our different minds, but at the same time, you need some form of that in your life. Because if you don't, that's where, you know, nihilism starts to creep in. That's where existentialism comes to creep in. That's where, you know, sometimes people enter dark places when they get into those you know, deep states of overthinking and deep states of questioning reality, right? And you know, that's part of the game too, right? I'm not saying that that's something to be completely avoided, but I also don't think it's good to sit there and constantly just question life. You know, life is to be lived also. Life is not to just be figured out. Life is to be enjoyed. Life is to be lived, and you're meant to do things in life as well. You're not just meant to sit here and question things constantly, right? So, you know, this is kind of for people who are overthinking. This is a video for people who are kind of lost and confused, right? Or you may be struggling with loneliness or depression or anxiety, or just feeling like life is shit, right? Or maybe you aren't achieving any results right now and you feel like life is, you know, really bad, right? I'm just making this video to kind of provide some clarity, right? Just to give you guys some hope, to give you guys some optimism for the future, right? Because like I said, I struggle with this at times. So I know I'm not alone though. I know you guys also have these same experiences. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you guys are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.